traders and investors alike for Green Friday. I hope you were green for the whole week last week. We've been watching the videos and we should be making money. Last week we were bearish on most of the Chinese sector, at least the tech and the EV sector. And for the most part, we got, quite a bit of the moves down. So last week we talked about this gap and how we have tested it previously, tested it there, held for support, tested it there, it held. We almost tested it here, and this would have been Monday's candle right there. And we didn't quite get to it, pushed back up into the 50, got the retest of the 50, got pulled back down by the end of the day. Opened up, chopped around. Thursday finally broke to the downside as the 9's coming down. Friday, big pull down. Thursday filled that gap, pushed back up. Friday, big pull down on volume. We talked about the MACDs. Looked like they were pinching to the downside. Got a nice pinch there for the momentum. Let's skip the chart there. So last week on the weekly chart, we talked about being below the 200, or hopefully opening up below the 200. That's exactly what happened. You can see we did push back up, almost retested the 9, and pulled back throughout the week. Let's go back. So I would not be surprised. So we have this gap. There's still a very small gap here now, very small, but I would not be surprised to see it push back up and fill that gap this week. I would not be surprised to see a little chop before the 9 gets down. There is some bearish Chinese news about factories contracting COVID. So that's going to make it hard on a lot of the factories, which, as we all know, Chinese products are shipped around the world. This is BABA's 15. You can see very choppy week. You can see Thursday we broke to the downside, pushed back up, gap down Friday. But for the most part, we chopped around waiting on that 9 to get down there for the move. BIDU, same deal. We were looking to get below this 50 before we took any positions to the downside. You can see we finally broke below the 50 on Tuesday. Wednesday, we pushed back up and retested it. Thursday, chopped around quite a bit. It's a pretty tight candle there. It looks like it ranged pretty good in both directions. And Friday gap to the downside, but they did come back in and buy this one back. You can see, so we gapped down and they come back in and spent money to push it back up. So the bulls tried to take back control. You can see the weekly chart still holding this 20 here. We talked about last week hopefully having a candle that would continue to open below the 9. That's exactly what we got. You can see we did pull back below the 20 and pull back, and that comes from that recovering candle on Friday. So right now that 20 support. I don't have the 15-minute chart for that one. FUTU, we broke below the, last week we were coming in, we were started to get into this downtrend. We were bearish, pretty much bearish on the whole sector. Finally broke below the 20 and the 9 there, and we continued to pull back. You can see had some pretty choppy candles here. So we were pulling back, and you can see right here we gapped down. Tried to gap up because this candle's up. We opened up above the previous close, and looks like it ripped to the downside, then back up. Pretty choppy. Weekly chart below the 9. So right now I'd be watching the 20 there for support or the 9 for resistance. Really don't like them when they're stuck in like that. But you can see for the overall week, so this would have been Friday. Monday, big move down. Nah, this was Monday right here. Big move down, chopped around. Maybe a little off on my days there. JD, I was pretty neutral on JD, honestly, because of where it was just stuck in between these moving averages, but now it did gap down below this 50. MACD starting to cross to the downside. See the pinch there? You get this little pinch right here, then you get the opening. I would like to see a bigger mouth on that opening. So as long as we're below this 20, or I'm sorry, as long as we're below this 50, well, the 9, the 20, and the 50, but as long as we're below this 50 like this, I remain short on this stock, remain on the bearish side. So on the weekly chart, your 20, your 9, we're right in between them. Don't really like being there. If we can get below this 20 here, I would look for a move to the downside to the 200. Don't like being squeezed in between moving averages like that. The weekly charts are not so bad as long as it's a big enough candle and you have room to make money. KWEB. So a lot of times when we see KWEB flow come in, if we see heavy KWEB flow, then a lot of times there's something coming and something usually happens the next day. It's just a one of the indicators or one of the things that we have learned in the Discord and we use, and it's one of those ways that we know how it helps us make money. Just simply put, it helps us make money. So you got your KWEB weekly here. Right now, we did close below this 20. So if we open below the 20, I am bearish on the stock. You can see this nice gap down Friday. Once again, this traded pretty flat. So it's been putting in, a lot of these stocks have been working on putting in this nice base, and now they're starting to move down. Daily chart, you can see the pinch starting to happen in the MACD. I still think these have more downside. Li Auto, we were more bearish on the Chinese EVs last week than any of them. Look at this nice move down here. And of course, this, Li had been one of the stronger performers, and it's just, taking a break, giving some back. There's a lot of stuff going on. I did see where China is extending the EV tax credits and stuff like that. So you can see we opened up and tried to push up into the 50 on that. So we could be easily very possible to see some of these move back up to the 9 for a flag to put in a flag for a move to the downside. They are getting extended here. We could just put in a base and wait on the 9 to catch up to push them down. You see a nice move here. I was worried about the 9 last week and possibly bouncing off that 9 just because the 9's powerful. And we did get the move below it, which was also exactly what we were hoping for, because we were short on these last week and everybody should have been in here, making some money, made some really nice calls the last 2 weeks. EDU, this was the only one that we were bullish on. We talked about this flag and how this was basically nothing but a flag here, just basically put in a base. And we pushed up out of that base, got extended outside of the Bollinger Bands. Friday had a slow day Friday. You can see a small day here waiting on 9 to catch up, getting back inside the Bollinger Bands. That's just digesting some of the move there. Been some buyback news and stuff like that for EDU as well this week to help it for a move to the upside. You could see the weekly chart on EDU. We got below this support, which is now resistance, a resistance level here. We chopped up into it, was unable to take it out. So it pulled back and put in a little base here. So you put in this whole picture here has just been one nice base since August. This thing's been putting in a base here. It looks like we are trying to move up. Your 50's even trying to turn here. Your 9's crossed your 20. You're seeing momentum in the MACD. We have broken above this level here. There's a good chance. Looks like we filled the gap as well. There's a good chance here that we can get a nice move up. This is the 15-minute chart for EDU. You can see the big push right there, and it gives some back Friday, and we could see the flat candle, and that's exactly what caused that. NEO, once again, we were pretty bearish on the Chinese stocks last week. We got this big move down Friday. That got us below the 50 on Monday, and we have chopped around. It keeps coming back, testing that 50. So there is some bulls in there trying to push this thing back up. See, this week, this MACD is changing character a little bit. We're still in this downtrend. You can draw this line right out. We're still in this downtrend, struggling with trying to get back above that 9 on the daily. You can definitely see the bulls trying to come in and take back control. So you can see the weekly chart here, down candle, but pretty flat. We're holding a moving average here for support. Looks like your 20's running right through here. and we're holding that for support right now. So if we can get below that 20, I would look for more downside. NEO's 15-minute chart, you see a pretty flat week coming into Thursday. Big move down. We recovered, chopped around pretty good Friday. These are awesome trends. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the swing traders, that's not really a big deal. But for us, we can snag puts to the downside, calls to the upside, puts back down, calls back up. It's a nice trend there, and that's a lot of opportunities to make money right there. PDD finally got below this 50 here. It acted as support. As we said, we needed to be below it to go short. Thursday, we broke below it. Actually, Wednesday, we pulled down below it, but we didn't confirm until Thursday. We opened up and then ripped down. It recovered a little bit of it. Friday, got a little spinning top down there. The weekly chart, right in between the 9 and 20, your 20 support right now. As long as this bearish news keeps coming in with the COVID, I'm not sure, because I don't follow China super hard. I did see some stuff about the banks and stuff this week, but I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to it. It's been a very, very busy week. We've had a lot of big hitters with a lot of big news, and I've been more worried about that, to be perfectly honest. But I do know that there's COVID. I posted a link in our Facebook group. I posted a link on the Twitter page. I will also add a link to this video as well. In the details section, you will see a link about the COVID news. You can see PDD, we gapped down Friday, filled that gap, and then gap back down. So that could have been a nice trend. If you were sitting here watching this chart, you started to push up because you got a nice rip up with calls and a nice rip back down with puts, and then you just went back into a chop. But you can see it had decent volume on Friday. XPEV, once again, we were bearish on the Chinese EVs last week. I know they're a lot of people's favorites, but don't get married to a position. Don't get over emotional about a position. Get in here and make money, even if you're holding. I hope everyone realizes this. Even if you're holding shares of a company, and it takes a move to the downside, you can get in here and play that move to the downside, especially if you're down on your position. You can make some money back. So you can still day trade this with options and hold shares at the same time. These are things that we teach in the Discord on a daily basis. XP weekly chart, you can see last week closed pretty flat. Honestly, we just got a small doji there, but you can see it ranged in both directions, so there was opportunities there to make money. I just really think so we've looked at all these charts, and they've been pretty flat on the 15-minute charts. They've grinded down for the most part, overall, but I just feel like there's easier stocks out there to trade. This may fit some people's personalities. I know we have one member that he does best trading Baba than he does anything else, and there's something about this price action that fits his personality, and that's great. But only for the average person, I think there's easier stocks to day trade for the most part. I also think there's better places for your money with their political issues. There's definitely nothing wrong with these companies. Some of these are some very good companies. There are just a lot of political issues. But right now, the concerns are COVID. There's also a Pelosi trip planned. There's some issues about that. Just a lot of headlines about China. And they're still having some financial issues. There's a lot of issues going on in the world right now. The American stock market has turned bullish. We will talk more about that in the next video and what we see going on there. Made a lot of nice calls in these videos last week, guys. Let's pay attention and get in the game, make some money. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you in the trading room.